Thanks for doing this with me. So what I wanted to ask you about today is a lot about your role in PRTM and how you see the industry. So could you please tell me about your background and how you got into tourism and the hospitality industry?
I would love to. So I started working for a park whenever I was in high school and loved my time there. Started going to Clemson and had a different major. I ended up switching to Parks and Rec because my brother had done it. And from that, I was able to intern with the Travelers Rest Farmers Market for a summer as one of my internships at Clemson. And from there was offered a full-time job, which is where I work now.
Awesome. Okay, and so that pretty much covers the positions you've had so far. Do you have any aspirations of where you'd like to go from here?
Ooh. I really would love to get back into the parks industry, honestly. I'm working for events a lot more right now, working for the farmers market, and I really enjoy that side of things. And I think it's been very helpful to teach me a lot. But I do miss getting to be a part of daily operations in the parks field. So I think my aspirations are to be where I am fully now, but to also get to try multiple different things, parks being one of them. But I'd love to go into like the hotel industry at some point too. And I think I have a very kind of sporadic aspirations. They're not very straight line, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. So with the Travelers Rest Farmers Market, what are your primary responsibilities right now?
So my position is the programs and marketing coordinator. Our market is a nonprofit market, so we have a lot of administration things that go on outside of the market. And my job is to facilitate those. So for a quick example, we have something called the Farmers Fund program that I help initiate. And that gives grants from our organization to local farmers. We have a young entrepreneurs program, which gets kids in our community into the business world. And I get to coordinate classes and kind of a camp-like experience for them. And we also do a lot with food access within the Travelers Rest community. And so I help do outreach and kind of education about the need for that, and then also facilitating market day SNAP at EBT transactions, essentially. And then marketing, kind of self-explanatory, media, newsletters, things like that.
Yeah, that's great. So speaking of all these events and programs that you manage, who is on your team with you?
There's only 3 of us, or I guess 4 of us. So me and then the executive director are both full-time. And then we also have 2 other part-time employees. Our fundraising coordinator, Lacey, she's amazing. She's how our market runs and the money that operates us, basically. And Leah is our market assistant, and she's there on market days to give us another boots on the ground hand to help run the market day of.
Awesome. And how do you manage like all of the vendors and other people who are working with you, but not so much within the organization?
I think relationships are really important, as would be said in any job. But in order to be able to coordinate people and help them get what they want out of a Saturday, you have to know what they want out of a Saturday in market. And so getting to know them individually, which can feel daunting and overwhelming when there's so many. I mean, we have around 100 vendors, and anywhere from like 2 to 5 other like programs people at a market on Saturday, along with our staff. In order to be able to meet all of their expectations, which first of all is not always doable, but to do our best to meet everybody's expectations, it starts with just getting to know them, having conversations and hearing what their aspirations are and what they hope to accomplish, and then trying to deliver the individual service to each of those people in the best way that we're able.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and ask more about like the general public that you deal with, how do you manage kind of dealing with people who are coming to the markets, whether they're satisfied, whether they're complaining? How do you deal with fronting that end of things?
I think I talked to her earlier. I worked for a park in high school, and that job taught me so much about customer service. And spending time to listen to the customer, whether they're, in my opinion, whether they're in the right or in the wrong. And so I think I've definitely carried that with me into this job and others. Anytime you're putting on an event, there's going to be those people that are satisfied and will come and sing their praises to you, which is so encouraging. And there's also people that are going to pick out everything that goes wrong, which can be very discouraging whenever we have outcomes that we're trying to meet. But I do think it's really important to give those people space to express what their frustrations are and their dissatisfactions are. But it's also, I think, equally as important to not just brush those away, but to really dive into those and analyze those and figure out if there are ways that we can improve through them. And then to also express that to the person that expressed their concern. Mm-hmm. So I think starting that question or directly answering that question is just listening to those people, and being willing to hear what they say and even agree with them, even in their dissatisfaction, which can be humbling, but ultimately that's typically what they want, is to be heard and to be validated in what they're feeling in that moment. So I think that's something that I've learned.
Yeah. Do you ever record those instances and kind of make note of what more people are dissatisfied with? Or do you have any kind of online review system set up?
We do. We have, the typical Google Yelp review. This may be a little different than what you're asking, but specifically for our vendors, which is that's the number one people that we're trying to serve. We started something this summer for the first time. We did a mid-season vendor review. And so we sent out a really just a detailed, in-depth Google form to all of our vendors where they told us basically every single thing that we could learn about how they think the market was going. And that was really helpful for us to hear a breakdown from the people that are both satisfied and not satisfied with the market, learning how their sales are going and how they perceive the market Saturdays. And that system was really helpful for us to record and to listen and to learn. So definitely something that we'll be implementing in years to come.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to field all of those concerns.
Yeah, it was helpful. I think we definitely learned that we will be doing this every year in the future.
Yeah, that's great. Do you ever have to deal with kind of on the human resource side of things, because that's so key to this particular position? How do you deal with problems on your end? Like you're seeing a vendor and they're doing things that are not acceptable. How do you deal with kind of meeting that? Have you dealt with that?
Yeah. Yeah. We have, even this summer, we've had some issues with some of our vendors being accused of selling things that they're not supposed to sell. And typically when that happens, the specific situations that we've had, they've been vendors that we have sided more with the customers and have kind of sided on one side of, I don't know if they're selling what they're supposed to be selling. But that's not always something that we know on the spot. So we're trying to implement a new program for next year, which a lot of times in events, as I've learned, there are things that need to be fixed in the moment that cannot be fixed in the moment because it's during the event. So for us, a lot of times we encounter issues during the summer, like this situation with this vendor, and we kind of have to walk it through that summer, doing the best that we can. And then we get to the off season where we can breathe and figure out how to address it for next summer. And so that's kind of the season that we're in right now, where we've had an issue with this vendor, or a couple of vendors, honestly. And it's now our off season where we can breathe and address it. And so we're starting a program to do farm tours with each of our farmers so that we can approve what things they're going to be selling at the market, so that whenever those issues arise at the market in the future, if a vendor is accused of selling something that they're not supposed to be, we can either say like, yeah, we've been out to the farm, we've seen it, they are selling it, it's right, it's good, or we can, we have kind of a check to understand whether or not they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. With that, especially with certifications that you may have, what are some regulations, like legally, that you encounter, and how do you stay informed about changes to those?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. If I'm being honest, I don't handle as much of the certification side of things. Our director does a lot more farm specific. But something that I do deal with a little bit is our food access program and making sure that all of our vendors and our customers are staying legally in the lines for whenever they're addressing or spending their SNAP dollars at the market, or SNAP EBT or whatever form of food access. What was the specific question you asked about that?
Mainly just about how you stay updated, like
yeah.
kind of education as things change over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, for a lot of those, typically the government requires me to take classes on those.
Okay.
But in order for me to be able to police it, I have to know it. So taking those seriously, as like simple as that sounds, taking those classes seriously and really learning the rules and the ins and outs so that whenever we're at the market on a Saturday and something's going wrong, I don't have to say, hold on, let me check, let me Google that, or let me call somebody and see what's right, but being able to address it on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So a couple more kind of unrelated questions that are somewhat relevant to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So in terms of sustainability, how do you see that come into play with the market?
Ooh.
In terms of operations, sustainability in like
Yeah.
food sense, and also just like maintaining the market through the years, profitability, that kind of thing.
Yes. I love this question. We were actually just having a conversation about this this past week. I think sustainability, a lot of times we think first of the land, of not economical, what's the word? Environmental. Environmental issues and trying to keep the environment sustained. But what we've seen is that, not to put it above that, but in a way of putting it above that, sustainability of the people is so important. And for the demographic of people that we're working with at the market, they are all small business owners and farmers and have some of the most stressful and demanding jobs of anyone that I know. And because of that, burnout is so easy. But when burnout comes, there's nothing they can do to take a break because there's no employee to pass this on to. There's no vacation that can be taken, or else they're not getting paid and they're not being able to provide for their family. And so, but also, in order to maintain this local food system that we're trying to create in Travelers Rest, in order to keep up the small business economy in the area, those businesses have to stay alive and have to keep going. And that starts with the people. That has to start in and with the people, sustaining the people. And so I think rest and breaks are really important. Learning how to pace yourself to be able to go full speed and do all that you can while you're in those jobs. But I think our role, and for nonprofits like us in the area, in order for us to be sustaining the food system and sustaining the small business economy, we have to be able to sustain the people and provide what they need to be able to sustain themselves. So I know that was a lot of the same word, but learning how to give them breaks and give them rest, and even encouraging them to do that. I think in even the land, talking about environmental sustainability, like you have to rest the land from people sometimes. You have to rest the land from fertilizers and pesticides and things like that. Rest is key and essential. So yeah, I think sustainability is such a big part in jobs like this.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, so kind of related to that, how do you ensure that your practices align with ethical standards within tourism and hospitality?
Ooh. That's a good question. I think standards in such as that are difficult because they're not very defined. So I think staying as far from ethical dilemmas as possible. And that may sound like kind of a immature answer to that question, but if you're getting somewhere where you think you might even be close to an ethical dilemma, like that should be a big siren to stay far away from it. Because we're not in a job like a restaurant where we have grading levels and we have specific things that we're not supposed to cross and do. It really is kind of objective. Standards and ethical standards are a little bit objective in our jobs. And so putting people first and putting respect first, I think is so key there. And yeah, staying as far away as we can from any issues where that might arise.
Great. Okay. So now I'd like to know, what is one of the biggest challenges you have faced within your career, and how did you overcome it?
I would say one of the biggest challenges that I faced is working in an environment, or I guess working around people to fulfill a shared mission or vision that don't believe in fulfilling it is the same way that you do. And it's not something that I've encountered in the job that I am right now, but in jobs in the past where I've been working with people where we are all, at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing and accomplish the same thing, but we have different means and methods of how to do that. And learning how to both stay true, I guess, to your morals and your beliefs and the ways that you think are true and good to live, while also compromising and honoring a workplace and the people that you work with. That's something that I found really challenging at jobs previously, like previous to the one that I am now. And it has made me even more thankful for the job I have now, where I feel like people I work with, we have similar ways that we carry out our job. But that is something that I struggled with, and I think a challenge that I had to overcome in previous jobs. Learning the balance of respect for others in the workplace, while also respecting my own personal values and learning which ones are supposed to come first in that environment, and ultimately realizing like there is a line where I have to step out of a job whenever I realize that I can't fulfill it the way that it's supposed to be fulfilled if it misaligns with what I believe in.
Yeah, that's really insightful.
Yes.
Okay. So another question, how do you and your team deal with unexpected situations that may come up, whether that's weather related, whether that's just a huge, big mess, or just like small things that really derail an event?
And events are all about adaptability. You can plan as much as you want, and it's true to life too. I mean, you can plan as much as you want to, and wear yourself thin trying to plan for something, and things are not going to go exactly how you think it is. And I think being willing to think on your feet and being willing to make things go differently than expected and being okay with that, but then embracing that to make the difference as well as you can. But also addressing those challenges in the moment. We had an accident at the market this summer. We had someone get injured at the market, and that was a scary moment because we hadn't fully prepared for how to deal with that situation. But in the moment, everybody adapted, and our team, just really thankful that our team fell into place, kind of picked up our roles quickly and were able to address the situation super quickly and calmly and swiftly, and the person was okay, and we were able to address it. But I think it was that adaptability where it was like everyone saw this thing happening and we were all just ready to jump into place and deal with the situation at hand to the best of our abilities, and then call in help for the areas that we knew that we couldn't fix. And then from there, like continuing on the market, keeping things running and keeping things moving, and not letting that be, while we cared for her, it was not, we couldn't let that be a roadblock to the rest of the event.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So speaking of your team, how do you work, you yourself, how do you work with different departments within your team?
yeah. Well, our team is 4 people. So our departments are shared across 3 of us. Um, so I think nonprofit jobs, especially, um, there is a lot of overlap. Departments are usually kind of crossed over with everyone. And I think working with people throughout those departments requires being willing to be that department when we need to be that department, and also knowing where your limits are and knowing who's going to be best at what. Um, so, yeah, I mean, our that's kind of being said. Yeah, I guess to answer that question,
Yeah.
not many departments to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some current trends in tourism and hospitality that you find really interesting at the moment?
Ooh. I think I think it's really interesting. I feel like lately, especially and maybe this is a post-COVID thing, I'm not really sure, but I do think there's been a trend towards like more niche hobbies and places through travel and parks and all of that. A lot of people when they're traveling right now aren't like going to the Napcom parks and such. They're wanting to find these smaller places. They're wanting to do the less touristy things and the more niche and local sided things. I think that's a really interesting trend, just that people are stepping into wanting to live daily life with people that are different than them. I think it says a lot about our culture and the shift in our culture. Whether that's for good, I don't know. But I think it's been cool for our market too, because it has, I would say it's given us more tourists and out of towners, because people are traveling to the Greenville area, and instead of doing the typical touristy things, they want to do these kind of fun niche, like they want to go to a small town called Travelers Rest, and they want to hear about this farmers market and get to know some of the local activities. So I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's amazing. How do you see the industry evolving in the next few years? What do you think will be changing as other things have changed with the new digital age?
Technology is definitely, technology is definitely taking over jobs, it feels like. I think as we've already seen it, like, I feel like jobs in the Parks and Rec and tourism and hospitality field are becoming more and more essential and less valued. Because they're losing importance in the public eye. Like, people don't see the need for parks, or people working at parks keeping up parks until they don't have them. But as people are losing value for those things, they're starting to fall, and they're realizing how much they need people to run things like concerts and parks and recreational spaces and kids sports, like these things that provide fun and relief in our lives whenever life gets really hard. And so I guess my answer to this question, more than how I see it's going to go, is more being curious of what that's going to be in the next couple of years, if we're going to gain more value for these jobs and realize their importance, or if we're going to slowly keep losing that value, as I feel like we have. And that worries me a little bit. So I hope that hope that changes.
Yeah. Okay, so another thing that kind of got touched on earlier, in tourism especially, there's a high turnover rate for employees. So how do you see that affecting the industry and jobs you've worked at, and even you yourself?
Yeah. I wonder if seasonality is part of that. I think a lot of those jobs are so affected by seasons where it's busy in the summer or busy during tourist season, whenever that may be, and then slow on other sides. And I feel like it's a job that's fun, and so a lot of people get into it. But after you're in it for a time, you realize how demanding it can be. Um, it's back to that sustainability question of how do we care for the people in a way that sustains them so that they can sustain the systems that our society needs. Yeah. I don't know if that fully answered your question or not.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow up to that. In your personal role right now, with seasonality being such a big factor, do you often find yourself looking for more help during peak seasons and kind of slacking back a lot on what events are happening when it's kind of the lower season in the year?
Yeah. I think I really love the seasonality of our job. I think it gets busy in the summers, which is our busy season, obviously. We cannot do it without our board members and the volunteers that help us run the markets and events. So we definitely rely on people more during those seasons. We rely on the customers and the community more. That job is so people-centered. But I think there's also a gift to the seasonality because I'm really enjoying the season that we're in right now, which is a lot of review of the year and planning and preparation for the next year. And it's definitely, less demanding on volunteers. But it's really fun work getting to prepare for what we know is coming.
Yeah. So, in that regard, do you often find yourself, instead of trying to market and increase promotions and have events in the off season to draw people in, you kind of make use of that downtime to really prepare well for the coming peak season?
Yes, that's totally it. It's like we're going to be able to deliver a good product to our guests in the summer. We have to spend time crafting it to make it as perfect, I guess, as we can. So that's what this season or this time is about. This slower season is to say, okay, what did we do well? What can we improve? What do we want to take away and add? So that whenever the season comes and we don't really have time to make those changes, that we've put everything into it that we possibly can to make it what it is in the summer.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so last question to wrap it out. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to go into tourism and event management?
I think just start putting your foot in the door. I feel like that's it may sound like basic advice, but you don't know what you want to do until you do it or don't do it. And it's so easy. I say it for that reason. I also say put your foot in the door just to start making connections. Because sometimes it is those jobs that you have that you really enjoy and they put you in the direction that you want to go in. And sometimes it's those jobs that you don't enjoy that make you realize you don't want to do what you thought you wanted to do. Or it's those jobs where you are able to make connections with people that you're like, I don't want to do what I'm doing right now, but this person that I met at this job does. So yeah, start getting experience and learning how you like to work in, what environments you like to work in, and letting that shape kind of your goal and your vision. And it may look like mine where it's very sporadic, wanting to try multiple things instead of wanting to get really good at one thing. I don't know if I recommend that, but regardless, just starting to learn and starting to get experience and starting those conversations.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been really helpful.
Thank you.
Great answers. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Have a good day.